Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I am Payman Ascari. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Timothy Knight. Tim, it's good to be back. How are you?
It's a good day today. I cleaned up my little whatever this is, my little social expression, creative expression behind me, and got rid of the stupid @ sign. It was driving me nuts. Not my shade of green anyway. I prefer something more purple. But anyway, so weather's beautiful. It's overcast, but I'm assuming no chemtrail because it's been overcast for a couple of days, and the NDP can't do chemtrails right anyway because they screw that up too. So yeah, then we've got PPC candidate Chris Enns in Inglewood, is it, at the Ostrich Farm the last day or so and through to tomorrow. And so that's going to be exciting to finally have a politician weigh in with an official statements. So that should be interesting.
And we're having him on at the 60-minute mark, I believe.
Somewhere around 2:15 or so, yeah.
All right, great. It's a good thing you got him out there. So great work with that.
Yeah.
Andre, how are you doing?
I'm fine, a little bit tired because I have to take care of my 4 little kittens, the kittens of my female cat who gave birth 1 week ago. So we don't sleep much, but they're adorable. So
You feel like
it's
your
a
new
nice,
father?
a nice gift.
A nice gift.
What did you say, Tim?
I said he'd feel like a father again.
Oh well.
They
will
grow
not
up
go-
so fast, Andre.
Isn't that? But
Yes,
they
I
grow
know.
up so fast. Yes, especially the furry ones, right? Yeah.
So, Andre, first of all, you never sent me any pictures of the kittens.
I
Oh,
did the first time when she gave birth, but after that,
I thought it was a
they are
stock
they are in
photo.
they are in the closet with under my pants and everything, so I don't want to disturb them. But they're growing now, and they're screaming during the night.
Are their eyes open?
I will send you a picture eventually soon, in 1-2 days.
Are their eyes open yet?
They're starting. They say it's between 7 to 10 days, so it's 9 days today. So, but they're more
And they're
active.
from Quebec, and they're from Quebec, so a little bit slower than the rest of
a little bit more time.
They're more rebellious.
Thank you, Tim Knight. I will
A
remember.
little bit
this.
more stubborn, right? Je me play. My eyes.
I'm trying to bring the picture up. I thought, Andre, you said that they were born in your house and then the kittens took them outside. The mommy took them outside.
No. They're still in the closet. They're still in the bottom of the back of the closet. So we have to go there and have an access to them. So they're she's
Nesting.
yeah, she's
Fantastic.
she's she's a Spanish little female, and she's very kind, but she's a hunter. She goes out, and I can guarantee you, when she sees a bird or a mouse, don't stay near her. So
And
she's
this,
only 1 year old. She's only 1 year old. It's not.
So-
So she's a brand new mommy.
Yes.
And this
so
picture-
with the first litter, sometimes they lose one.
I was surprised. Yes, with 4, you never know, but they're all healthy. You can hear them scream at 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you realize
They want
what we've
milk.
just done. We have just proven the internet meme that really, when it all comes down to it, it's about cat videos.
Always.
And here we
So
are,
now we will have 3,000
Right.
views.
right? So conspiracy confirmed. This is all it's about.
Andre, I have a question. Did you special order a potato camera to take this picture, or was there Vaseline on your camera lens?
The pixel resolution is like 1982 CBC.
Were you having
wow.
a seizure when you took this picture?
We took first of all, it's my wife who took the picture with her telephone.
Oh,
and she's not-
I spoke out of turn. Please don't hunt me
and
down.
we took the picture at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think we were
3
both
o'clock.
in the blurry.
The camera was tired at 3 a.m.
The camera was blurry-eyed. Blurry-eyed
My
camera.
wife didn't want to use the flash. She said it's not good for the kitten. I think she was right, but but she didn't want to use the flash, so I had to put I have a small light in the closet, but it's not very efficient. So
So it's a Russian camera.
no, it's a very new model, but it was bought in Kazakhstan because you don't have this type of technology here. It's Chinese. Oh no, we do have Chinese technology here.
We have Chinese technology here. We just sell it in Walmart.
The only man on this planet who can buy local is a Chinese man.
Because everything's made in China.
It's just what do they call imports. Yeah, he's importing.
So we're going to talk about cats for 2 hours.
Yeah, we're going to talk about cats.
We will attract a lot of liberal movement.
We've never had so many viewers.
We're about to lose Mike. He was happy when he got here, but we've been talking about cats for 6 minutes straight now. So, all right. So let's go and let's bring Donald Trump to the table, because why not?
Hit the button.
Sure.
The button. Yes.
Yeah. So what's the first thing we want to talk about?
Unfortunately, because he did this 2 days ago, it's already old news.
Man, we are totally unprepared. We're good when it comes to talking about cats, but nothing else.
Well,
are we turning liberal?
We're turning liberal. Yeah. I identify as a liberal. So let's switch gears towards Donald Trump at the United Nations.
Where are my cat ear headphones?
All right, focus. So Donald Trump gave like a manifesto, and he took a flamethrower to the globalist agenda. And this, I have to admit, it was one of the more satisfying moments of Trump's record the last few months. Let's go to you, Andre, and I'll give a summary of what I think happened. But Andre, what are your thoughts on what he said?
Okay, first of all, I didn't listen to the speech of Donald Trump. No, listen to this. This is, but
let's go back to the cats.
Let's go back to the cats. My wife, who's connected to many podcaster and geopolitical analysts, have been talking about this since 2 days, so I know practically.
So you're just basically repeating what your wife told you.
Why can't we just go directly to the source? Andre, we don't need you anymore. We'll just get your wife to be part of this trio.
Yes, that would be,
I'm sure she'd be much more focused.
So now we have to split revenues 4 ways.
A huge improvement.
4 times 0.
So anyway, I did follow what happened at the United Nations, but the United Nations is not a serious organization anymore, considering what is happening in Gaza, and nobody's doing nothing about it, including Donald Trump. He always pretend that he stopped war. It is him who created the biggest economy on the planet. High. And it is annoying because for a statement, he should be more modest, and he should talk less and act more. He was supposed to stop the Ukrainian military operation in 24 hours. He didn't do nothing. And many analysts now, what they're saying it is Trump's war. He should have stopped it, and he did not. So whether he's dropping Ukraine while saying, okay, Ukraine, you go ahead and win back all the territory, win back the Crimea, win back everything. Good luck. Yes, but don't forget one thing. He's president of the United States. When you are in power and you do not act, why you're there? That's my comment. It's quite simple. He has the power to act, to stop funding, first of all, Ukraine with weapons, and he has the power to stop supporting Netanyahu in his genocide. And he doesn't do it. Ask yourself the question, why? That's serious. When I say I'm joking all the time, it's not because I'm joking that the situation is funny. It is not a funny situation. He's arriving, and you saw after that the speech of Netanyahu. Half of the people, and maybe I think 70% of the people got out of the place, didn't want to listen to the speech of Netanyahu. Where are we going now? After what? October 7, 2023, 2 years after, soon, 4 years after the start of the special military operation, and now it's Trump's war. So he can say whatever he wants. He can have a great speech in United Nations. Where are the action?
If
And
he hasn't
nobody.
pulled out, yep, if he hasn't pulled out of Ukraine, it's his.
It's his war. It's his war. He's responsible, and he wants to be nominated for a Nobel Prize like Obama and everything. Obama was the one who was the most warmonger president of the United States. He got the Nobel Peace Prize. Like I said, I'm a writer. If they would give me the Nobel Nobel Prize of Literature, I would be the first French Canadian writer to receive it and to refuse it, because it's bullshit. United Nations has lost all credibility, and it's not the Security Council, it's all the institution, all those international institutions. We can talk about the World Health Organization, we can talk about Gavi, UNICEF. They all lost their credibility. That's why we talk about a multipolar world. And Trump, who is in the position of the driver, does not drive. He cannot, because he's an ignorant businessman. He doesn't know diplomacy. There's no diplomacy on international. Look at what you have in Europe. Kaja Kallas, Ursula von der Leyen, Annalena Baerbock. Wow, I'm impressed. I'm not talking about Merckx or forget about Macron, but there's no diplomacy. Those people are ignorant, and Trump, I will end on this, is a product of his own time. It's Biden 2.0, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Tim. I'll follow you.
No, that's great, because all I'm thinking of is when we chatted yesterday about this, all I could think of was the bluster, because sometimes he uses bluster and sometimes it's just natural. This is the deck of cards game that was played after 9/11. When Bush Jr. had assembled the deck of cards and said, this Al Qaeda is this card and this Al Qaeda is this card, and these are their heads and we want them all. And so Trump is copying this behavior in his own version. Well, if you don't telegraph it, just go do it. Don't telegraph it, just go do it. Right? So what we want is leadership. Are the things Trump does that I like? Yes. Do I like that he's a businessman and not a politician? Yes. Do I think that he needs to understand that the crown should be heavier on his head than it appears to be? Yes. And when he goes to the UN, he should be telling the UN, we're kicking you all the fuck out of New York until you get your shit sorted out and represent the nations we pay you to represent, rather than this ungodly cabal packed with jihadi Muslims who want nothing more than to take over Europe and to clean house in the UN, rather than going there and playing their game, sitting down at their tea party and tipping up your finger and stop playing the game. Stop playing the game. So what we need now are politicians who are like, okay, I have the authority to do the thing. I'm going to do the thing, not play the game. I had my sister and her husband were down from the Yukon yesterday, and we're talking about purchasing land and whatnot. And it occurred to me that when we say follow the money, right? When we say things like follow the money to understand where the corruption starts from and who the influencers are. When we follow the money, the bottom line is land. Right? So Payman, you say this a lot about the importance of property ownership and how that's been lost over time. Physical ownership of land is the fundamental, is the anchor for a man to exist sovereign. Without your own land, you are not sovereign. And we had that interesting conversation yesterday. The Ukraine is about land. It started about land, Eastern Ukraine, right? It's not so much that a particular people live there and are looking for respite from oppression, is that the land represents value. The only reason to expand is for land. only reason to expand for land. So why is America, and by extension Canada, still in the Ukraine land?
Sure. I guess before sharing my thoughts, Robbie, thanks for reposting the stream. If you guys can repost it, it would help us grow the audience. So here are my takeaways from his speech at the UN. The first one, Andre, as you pointed out, he kept using the word I. And now he reads off a teleprompter. During the 2016 campaign trail, he kept saying we, our mines, our coal, our military. Here he said I. I don't think it's just a mistake. He's probably trying to piss off. Maybe he's thinking if I use I can be a lightning rod for the left to attack me, and then Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard, they can do whatever they want. That's one possibility. The obvious one is that he identified the two main pillars of globalism, and that's basically his manifesto. One was weaponized mass migration. The second one was this green agenda, and I think that was basically he's announcing what his administration is going to dismantle over the next 3 years that he has left. The other one was he did mention the what do you call the Nobel Peace Prize again. I think he's just trying to piss off the left, but he mentioned Obama and Biden by name, and from Tulsi Gabbard mentioned how Obama is guilty of treason. You saw after the Charlie Kirk shooting, he mentioned RICO. He mentioned George Soros, and now we have James Comey indicted. I think they're going after their opponents, and they're like flipping. They're trying to flip the lower level lieutenants to try to get the mid-level lieutenants higher level, and then maybe Obama, which it's impossible at the moment. But that's what I understood from his speech. And I thought it was really powerful. I think he basically summoned all of these leftist globalist leaders to New York, and he told them to go F themselves, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah. To bring up Doug's comment, I want to respond to that. So, and that's correct. And it's not so much that I think Russia is doing a land grab. I think it's NATO is doing the land grab. And as we've mentioned times before, you create the problem, you provide the solution, and that moves you toward your own objective. And NATO's objective, going back before 2014, because they installed the Zelensky government in 2014 as an act of NATO. Before that, there were instigators in fomenting and pushing the eastern Ukrainian civil unrest. So that's a NATO action. So the land grab that I'm referring to is more specifically NATO. So that's my take on that.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, nobody's saying NATO is innocent in all this. Mm-hmm. I think my
we're training. It will not be Cerberus at the Improv, but it will be Saturday night afternoon.
Yeah, and I agree with Doug's comment. The objective is to flip Russia. Yes, which, funnily enough, isn't that what they were doing before the Tsar was killed 120 years ago?
Well, you're talking about the England now, not NATO.
NATO, but yes,
what's the difference?
And what's the
because at the time it was Germany and France and England, by extension America, because America ends up having financial interest in the operation, even if it wasn't political, it was certainly private and corporate. So anyway,
if we refer to the speech of Trump, I'm still waiting for the Epstein list. Come on. I want to read.
Right, there is.
Yes, that's
where.
There's a short story from Edgar Allan Poe. The title is The Purloined Letter, and there's a murder, and the detective arrives in the flat, and he's trying to find evidence, and there's a letter on the table that is obvious. You can see that, but he doesn't think that the evidence that would explain the crime would be so obvious. Like you mentioned, Tim, that's a very good observation. The list that does not exist. So we are in virtual reality. There was a podcast with David Garner, our colleague, with Gilbert McKinnisky. He was talking about virtual reality. We are in virtual reality, but let's not forget 1.7 million dead in the Ukrainian army up until now, and 65,000 dead in Gaza, and more, close to 200,000 according to some analysts. This is reality. In UN, in United Nations, this is virtual reality. We have bureaucracy in Canada. We have bureaucracy in the United States. We have massive bureaucracy in Europe. We have massive bureaucracy in international institutions. Those people are paid what? $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 US with expenses. They all have their small business model. They all have their small organization. They all depend on the funding of countries like the United States, Canada. We don't finance a lot, but we still do. And we can still look at the program that Canada is promoting. Transgenderism in another country. So wait a second, and I'm not even talking about the money that we're giving to Ukraine, which is a black hole. It's a black hole. It's a black hole of corruption.
That $8 billion.
Well, in Ukraine, because I follow the I would say the situation, the political situation since many years now. I can tell you what mainstream media are saying here. It's complete lie. It's 100% lie all the time. But it works. People are connected, brainwashed. Their operating system. I will use a Haiti metaphor. Their operating system is hijacked, and they cannot think out of the box. So when we think about Trump doing a speech at the United Nations, we would expect something. Don't forget the Security Council. You have 5 countries: United States, China, England, France, and Russia. Since 1949, you can go and check how many resolutions they were able to vote together. Practically nothing. That's 75 years of incompetence, and they are powerless. But they cost a fortune. World Health Organization. Well, immediately when Trump said that we will not finance the World Health Organization, they had to fire hundreds or thousands of bureaucrats because they could not pay them. What are they doing, those people? Sovereignty of nation, it is the first thing that we have to aim. And maybe Trump will do it, but I doubt it.
So maybe at the UN level, these people who have what you've marked as a faulty operating system, what if we could just turn them off and turn them on again?
Yeah, format.
Right. Well, no, I don't want a format. No format. I just want to turn them off, and then maybe hit the juice. And if they turn on again, that's okay. But if not, well, also okay.
Who you will ask? Who you will ask to turn them off? What's his name? Larry Ellison from Palantir. Or Oracle, who will shut down the server. Right. Those people, they are connected to the money. USAID in United States, when they start to defund the program, immediately people were complaining. They were practically doing riots on the street because we have to finance international institution. No, we don't.
So USAID, the 3 of us are so angry at Trump, we sometimes forget how many wins he's gotten. The moment he got rid of USAID, the left media propaganda machine evaporated. Stephen Colbert lost his show. It's in limbo right now, but there's Jimmy Kimmel. He's going to lose his show. At least he's lost a lot of his viewers. They went after the money, which is exactly what Trump needed to do.
I think we have more viewers than Jimmy Kimmel right now.
Speaking of which, Debzilla, thank you for reposting the stream. Same with Dave. If everyone could repost, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and we said we were going to do Trump for about 10 minutes, so let's get to idiot liberal or NDP.
Can I just say something? I do not criticize the character because I know him. Everybody knows him how he is. That does not interest me, but his action. And when I don't see any action, any results, this is where I am critical of his administration. Not only him.
Can I quickly, before we leave, I want to bring up Doug's comment. Netanyahu seems to have soiled himself over the prospect of losing support from the Christian part of MAGA. What in heaven's name is wrong with the Christian Zionists? Leaving out the last part for the moment. I'm not saying Mossad took out Charlie Kirk, but if you look at the progression of Charlie Kirk from when he was a kid, and he was a conservative through and through, and then he became more anti-war, he became more populist, and he was moving away from Ukraine, he was moving away from Israel. I think it's getting to the point, as long as they don't keep assassinating these people, it's getting to the point where enough pressure will come on Trump that he's got to do something in Israel. Definitely he has to stop the genocide, but hopefully he'll move America away from Israel and just say, you're on your own.
But just stop funding them.
Well, yeah, but then his APAC money won't come in. At the end of the day, it's pay to play in the U.S.
He's the president of the fucking United States of America. Right?
The
like
deep state goes deep.
All right, let's pretend I'm king of the world. I mean, Donald Trump. That's what he is, right? Barring, Winnie the Pooh over in China, right? But they don't really give a shit because they've got their own program. They don't care. They don't care. So we need leadership who don't care. Like Carney doesn't care about Canadians. We need leadership on the right that don't care. Yes, you've got your protocol, like I've got Robert's Rules of Order sitting over there on my right. Yes, we've got that, but we got to get shit done. It needs to be done. Stop playing chess and start playing Go, and not go to not like the big Go winners. They say, I play not to lose. No. Play to win. We need to be considerably more aggressive on the international field as far as the right or actual democracy or actual republic is concerned. And to go out there and think that we can play their games and win is a fallacy, because we are grossly outnumbered, grossly underfunded. So when you have a right wing or a conservative minded or a right president of the United States of America who just wants to go over and wag his finger and say, you're being bad people, I'm coming to get you a proper spanking. Well, no. Cut off the money. Be done with it.
Andre?
Well, I think the comment of Doug is interesting. Let's not forget that we can talk about the structure of United States. 65 or 70% of the United States in 1960 were Catholic, Christian Catholic, and JFK was Catholic. Charlie Kirk was Catholic, but you have
his wife was Catholic. He's like Presbyterian or Baptist or something.
Yes, but
you're a Catholic and you're married to one, they assume you're Catholic.
He was starting to lean toward something that is what I would say more universal. And why do you think Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Because he was starting to go away from the unconditional support of Israel. Israel actually is a small country, 9 million people, and you have a diaspora of about 7 to 9 million people outside of Israel. In Russia and United States, a lot of them, 25% is in the United States. You have some in Ukraine, you have some in Europe, in France, and they are ruling the world. Everybody's turning around Israel now, which is not normal. With a superpower like United States, it's the dog, the metaphor.
The tail
that wags the dog.
Yes.
I'm sorry. He's president of the United States, but maybe of course he received, I think, $100 million for his electoral campaign. He was financed by some very wealthy people, so of course he's tied to them. I do agree with you, Payman. It takes time to shift from, I would say, the hegemony of the Western world to what Alexander Dugin would call the multipolar world. But even with a multipolar world, if you don't have a spiritual context, it will not work. We need to go back to core values, moral core values. And Trump, he's a businessman, like Tim said. He did a lot of business, but where's the moral behind that? And I think he does not understand that. He's not at this level. I would be surprised, for example, did he quote the Prince of Machiavelli? If I would be tomorrow Prime Minister of Canada, the first book that I would read would be this one. Of course, I read it 3 times, but I mean the education of the elite. The education of the elite, they don't know history at all. So when they arrive and they say, when Trump arrived and say, I will stop the conflict in Ukraine 24. I will do this. Maybe, first of all, you have to rely on your team, on your organization, and you have to surround yourself with good advisor. And it seems that he doesn't have any good advisor. He's controlled by his emotion. That's a characteristic of practically all the Western world. Everybody's reacting, and we will talk a little bit later about the ostriches, the farm. Everybody's reacting, but they're not thinking long term.
Well, we were going to shift. Tim, do you want to respond, and then we'll go to the next topic?
No, let's talk about gun control.
All right. So I wanted to open up with this one video. It's only 18 seconds, so bear with me. Bear with this woman's horrible accent.
All of the people in possession of one of the weapons that has been banned since 2020 and will not participate in the compensation program will have an illegal gun in its possession, and that's a criminal act.
All right, thank you very much. So to the letter of the law, what she says is right. Like, despite her accent, if you have a gun and we change the law so the gun's illegal, then you're in violation of the criminal code, so you're a criminal. My observation with this is that these people in the Liberal Party, and I'm using the word people loosely here, they say these things specifically to get the other side angry, and when they get angry, they overreact online, which is good because they're only online, they're not at the legislature. And then when they overreact, the Liberals turn to their base and they're like, these are far right-wing, white supremacist, extremist, fascists, and let's hate them. So they rally their base. And I want to get away from this. I know I'm showing the video. But...
Well, this is useful because my first takeaway on that is this public statement is aimed directly at Danielle Steele, our cowboy romance novelist in Alberta, is aimed directly at Danielle Smith because she said plainly, publicly, in a statement, the RCMP in Alberta are not to implement this confiscation program. We refuse. Right? And that was like 3 days ago, 2 days ago. And so now this MP comes out and makes this statement. So now this is pissing on each other's jurisdiction, right? To determining, right? And they're both trying to use the RCMP as their hammer, right? So it's the problem with the right is when you finally get the right, the conservative, angry, they lose logos and slip straight into pathos, right?
Damn,
so
that is good.
Right. When a conservative-minded individual finally loses their steam, they only see red. They only see red. And they say, if you want chaos, I will give you chaos. Right? So, and psychologists and they're part of everybody's PR teams and giving them counsel and they know this. So like you said, this type of this MPs is intended to aggravate and instigate a pathos logical response from the right. And you know what? She'll be right.
Go ahead, Andre.
Well, I will just go back. I think it was last January. with the interview between Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin. And it was a long interview, practically 2 hours. And I was listening to the interview for 2 hours. And I know quite a lot the Russian politics, and I've studied a lot since many years. And I was a little bit disappointed because I didn't really learn anything new, historically speaking. And then I was having discussion with one of my Ukrainian friend, and he said, "Well, the interview was not for you. The interview was for the American public, because Tucker Carlson was talking to American people. When you think about liberal, the NDP, the conservative, they never talk really. They never have any debate. They are still. We can be in an echo chamber here. Cerberus at the Improv, we have some people who follows us, likes what we do. And we can be in the and sometimes, like, we open comments, we have an interaction, but we can be easily fall in an echo chamber. The House of Commons actually is an echo chamber. They all speak to their base, and I think Tim is right. They speak to their base. They attack the opponent. This woman, I don't know her name. Very bad English accent. I thought my English accent was bad, but now I feel a little bit more relief. She does not have the courage, and a lot of women in politics don't have the courage, and a lot of castrated men don't have the courage to go and face the other person and tell the person in the face, "I disagree with you." Exactly what Tim said: logos and pathos. They fall into pathos, and they cannot go and sit and have a debate on why, for example, we would ban firearms for hunting. Why? Explain this to me. Like, we know that 70 or 75% of the firearms in Canada that are associated with violent crime are illegal weapons. We know this, and it's quite fascinating. So that woman, she's speaking to her base, and she's trying exactly what Tim said. She's trying to infuriate the conservative. And when they cannot act in a mature way, because they should be mature, you have a gun. You have to follow a course. You need a permit. You need all there's all. And I know some people who go and shoot in a shooting club and everything. And I respect them because they are responsible people. But when it comes to politics, it's exactly what Tim said. They lose the sense of logos and they react. And after that, like he said, the left or the liberal, because you can include the NDP, they paint those people as far right. Those are categories of the moment. There's no such thing as far right, as far left. They are individuals who have ideas. And if you're able to be, if you're mature, you will debate. We can disagree. It's not a sin to disagree. On the contrary, it's true contradiction that you can involve. And I think that she's acting exactly like many MPs. They are not mature people.
Sorry, let me jump in here. First of all, Andre, Tim, if you could check your settings and make sure you have noise cancellation on, because I'm hearing a lot of feedback when Andre talks. While you're doing that, if everybody in the space, all right, if everyone in the space could repost, reshare the space, the live stream, that would greatly help us increase our audience. Andre, I'll just quickly say something. What you said, they're speaking to their base. This happened after the Charlie Kirk assassination. If you remember, in the EU Parliament, they wanted to hold a moment of silence, and the left, the liberal side, they refused to do it. Maybe it's because they're evil, but it's also because they're thinking of their base. If their base thinks that Charlie Kirk is evil incarnate, then they can't risk holding a moment of silence for him. And it's polarization. So there is a rationale to what they're doing, but it's because the media has basically shared this message that everyone on the right is, everyone you disagree with is Hitler.
Yes. And there's a phenomena within the silo, because think of anode and cathode, right? The one of these being the base and the other being the leader or the representative, are so disconnected from each other's reality that when the base says, "Oh, but this person, they represent me," And then the leadership says, well, I think that this is what the base needs, and I'm going to speak to what they need. But that disconnect continues. They don't actually know each other. There's no actual representation. All they know is that one can manipulate the other. So the leadership says, if I don't resonate with my base, I will lose my funding.
Yeah.
And the base says, if we have to find someone who's worthy of our funding, right? So then it's like a war of unmet expectations. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous 101, right? The reason why so many of us fail, the number one failing is unmet expectations. So this play continues even within the silo. Even with like we do this on our own podcast, is a commenter on the side can make a comment, and while we're having a chat and we're looking at the comments, we go, ew, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? And we don't know if we're going to pull it in and have a conversation over it or not, right? So we play because this is human. This is human, except for communists. Communists aren't people, right?
Yeah, they're not humans. Yeah, that's different.
So other than that,
comment on that,
right? Other than that, everything's fine, right? So we continue to have these subsets of increasingly it is intersectionalism 101. Right? This is intersectionalism 101. So in Canada, we allowed a constitution that enabled the birth of intersectionalism. Talked about this with Charles Fincher the other day, right? By continuously treating the out group and giving them special status, we birthed intersectionalism into the Canadian bureaucracy. And here we are today.
I think you're right, and that's why the silo or the echo chamber we are all caught in this, because since 2019, since 2020, we were practically put in jail. We could not socialize, so we integrated like what I was saying, a new operating system. The fact that you have I call the House of Comment a circus. I would not want to disrespect the institution, but I would like to see there was a small clip that I watched. I think it was 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I told my wife is always making jokes. I cannot drink that much to watch more than 1 minute. Yeah, I can be, like Tim said, you can be a heavy drinker, but not that much. They are not serious. They are not serious, and they're never talking. When you look at them, it's funny, because when you look at the House of Commons, for example, one gets up, he speaks, everybody rise, everybody goes down. It's like when I was in the primary school. The director comes in the classroom and says, everybody raise, everybody sit. I understand the protocol, but now they're like puppets. They're just like puppets, and you can activate them with your mobile phone or a device.
But I wonder if the day after an election, all of our elected representatives are swapped out for Stepford wives.
It's a good observation. The fact that they, first of all,
how good is this AI after all?
Well, the parliament was prorogued for how many months? First of all, and they were paid. Try to miss 1 day of work. What do you think your boss will say? He will call. You will say, and if you don't call, for example,
right?
Or if you, after 2-3 days, he will say, "Wait a second, Tim. Maybe you arrive on time, or we can hire a Pakistani at your place, and we will receive 60% of his salary." That's a joke, but anyway.
It's way more than 60.
Wow, yeah, but they are
and
not.
That's the joke.
I refer to maturity. People who are in power, any level of power, have to behave in a mature way. They cannot undermine the opposition or the criticism of citizens. Which MP will respond to one of our emails? Which one? Nobody answers anymore to nobody. That's why I was referring to they talk to their base.
If you get an email, it's from the constituency office and it's a form letter.
It's a form letter, and you cannot have access unless, first of all, unless he makes a rally unless, let's say, an MP is running again, he makes a rally, and you go there, you can talk to him. But I do remember 2018, Trudeau was in I think it was 18 or 19. He was in a rally, and one woman arrived and she started to ask him very hard question, and he got very angry. And he answered. He said, "Madam," and she's Canadian citizen. Let's pretend she does not have two citizenship. "You do not belong in this country, madam," quote unquote. Sorry, you cannot.
Who was this?
2018. There was
Who?
Justin Trudeau.
Oh wow.
And he directly answered to the woman, and he said, "You do not belong in this country." Let's say I'm French from France and I have double citizenship. He could say, "You violate the Canadian law. We will kick you out of the country." You cannot do this with somebody who has one citizenship or somebody who doesn't have a passport. So he was so arrogant, could not even contempt his temper. He was arrogant. He was aggressive. That's not the way to behave. You can disagree with somebody. You can hate the person, but in public, you have to behave. And I think many people toward this woman or the ban of firearm, we know what's behind that. Disarming citizens to control them. That's simple. You don't have to have a PhD to understand that.
Sorry, Tim. Before you go, we have Chris Enns here. He's coming in from the Ostrich Farm. I'm going to bring him up.
Good.
He might be having camera issues. No, there he is. Chris, how's it going? You're muted, Chris.
You're muted, Chris.
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Your video is quite spotty and a little bit laggy.
Still.
Yeah.
Well, that's because of the RCMP jamming signals.
It may well be the jamming interference. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. So let's lead off. Tell us who you are, where you are, and why you're there.
Of that.
Is there an audio delay or Chris, can you hear us?
I don't think he's picking us up.
I'm worried there's going to be an audio delay and he's going to answer something you asked.
Something else.
Yeah. Chris, can you hear us?
Do you hear us?
Right. Well, I'm Chris Enns. I'm the People's Party candidate for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola. I'm based out of Clearwater, but I'm in Edgewood, BC today for something that transcends politics.
Yeah, it's the delay. I was worried about this.
Yeah, so it's not so much where they are because the farm has good connection. It's more that the RCMP have been employing jamming tactics.
Okay, I gotta go move my phone. So I've got issues here.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
We'll find something else to complain about and come back later.
He'll get that joke in about 60 seconds.
In about 60 seconds. It's a time joke.
All right, let's take him down and we'll bring him back up.
Back down to the studio. Okay, so while we're getting that little bit of subterfuge sorted out, Gun Grab brings us over to Carm Starmer, or whatever his name is. Digital ID.
You're Stalin.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, we can talk about digital ID. We can talk about the ostriches. All of that is just Canada going down the toilet. So take it away, Tim.
Bring up Starmer's bit on digital ID. Just no need for video. No need for audio. Just let the text play. So keeping it really short, UK has manipulated the illegal immigration situation to their benefit, pushing forward toward 2030 and 2050 by using the illegal immigrant situation to bring in digital ID. And the statement that Starmer's been making is every citizen will have digital ID, and those who are not will not, and therefore they won't be able to work. And aren't we a good government making sure that you can keep your jobs? But he says flatly, if you don't have digital ID, you won't work. That's the takeaway.
Well, like I said, like I posted a comment on X, black market or black market has a very bright future. Tomorrow, if I cannot work, what do you think? What do you think will happen? What do you think will happen? I will go work with black money.
Right. Okay.
So Chris is back.
Chris is back. How's the lag?
Hi, hopefully it's better quality now.
Good.
It is.
You tell me.
Let's start from the top. Yeah, we'll tell you. You start from the top.
Okay. Well, I'm a PPC candidate from the Kamloops area, and I'm in Edgewood, British Columbia, and I've been at the Ostrich Farm talking to the locals, and I just had a conversation with Dave, one of the owners, for a couple minutes, and before coming back here to where I'm staying in the village of Edgewood.
And as a first-time observer on site, with what you've seen in the media leading up to this, and you with boots on the ground, what are your observations as to the veracity of other people who are commenting on the situation? Yeah, I think there's significant lag.
How far away is this ostrich farm?
It's a really relaxed atmosphere. I think that there's, one police officer for every 2 people at the actual farm staying there. But the police presence is excessive considering the situation and the attitudes.
There have been reports about self-combusting.
10 minutes. I might just go back there then if this isn't working. I was getting low battery and I was all set up here to have a proper, quieter atmosphere, but this isn't going to work. So I will rejoin you down the road from the truck.
Good. Okay, we'll bring you back. Good. Okay, so back to digital ID.
What were we bitching and complaining about? I forget.
Wait, what were we complaining about this time? Right. Canada is a colony of the crown, so digital ID is coming. It just is.
Canada is a police state.
Moving toward that, when they take away your guns, what else is left?
No, it is a police state since 2020. We had curfew here, $6,000 fine if you would go out 1 foot outside of your land. I have a 2.5 acre land here. I could at least walk 2, 3, 5 minutes on my land, but you can imagine you live in a building in Montreal, you cannot even put 1 foot on the sidewalk without having a cop fining you for $6,000. We live in a police state. We do not go toward it. We live in it. And the digital ID will be a way to control people and to manipulate them. And yes, the UN Pact for Migration, they use this since many years to flood countries with mass immigration, and then they will implement this digital ID. The CBDC was the same thing. Central bank digital currency. $1.4 trillion of debt. We are bankrupt in Canada. And the only way we can get out of this is to implement a digital ID and digital currency that you will control. What's so complicated about this to understand? But like I said, the operating system of people, the brain of people is not prepared to live in a totalitarian regime. They refuse this. reason refuses to see the reality, and we see it in United Kingdom. And like you said, we are colonies of the British Crown here, and we will comply like New Zealand comply, like Australia comply during the COVID. It was horrible in Australia, and people they forget. They forget the 5 years of tyranny that we had. Two people were put in jail for 3 years in Canada without any trial. What is this? I have friends, Russian, Ukrainian, Moldavian friends, Soviet Union people. They recognize the signal and the symptoms. But even some of them, they don't want to acknowledge this, because when they left Soviet Union and they arrived here, they thought that they were arriving for freedom. It's not the case anymore.
We have Mr. Dale Richardson's here, so I'm going to bring him up. Dale has his own podcast as well. Dale, can you hear us?
1 second.
We opened up the show, the podcast, to other podcasters to come on and speak with Mr. Chris Enns, who's at the farm. Dale, if you can hear us, Chris is having some problems with the internet, so he's driving around to see where he can get reception.
Okay.
But until we get him back, if you two gentlemen are okay, I'd like to get Dale's opinion and thoughts on what's going on in the Ostrich Farm.
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, at the end of the day, the government should not be involved in that. Like, I mean, that's just straight overreach. There's nothing else to say other than that, right? They shouldn't be involved. They should allow people to do what they need to get done, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know if either of you want to respond. Like, the counter arguments I've heard from people that support the RCMP in this and the CFIA is, we've dealt with avian flu before, and this is what the government does. Basically, the government exists to keep you safe. I don't know. Like, what do you think of that, Dale?
I'm going to say no, because what have they been experimenting with when it came down to avian flu for a long time? They've been working on that, biologically enhancing it with gain of function. Who's to tell that they weren't responsible for that? And if the animals are not testing positive for the avian flu, why are you going to go and destroy them? Right?
Well, I think Dale is right in a sense. Who asked the government, because it was a national crisis this week, who asked the government to test the birds again? Test them. And they don't want to test them. They're stubborn, because if they don't test them, the narrative goes on.
Yeah.
We lost Dale.
We got him back. Don't worry.
So
good.
So this is the moment when you hear your mom say, "'Cause I said."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it doesn't even matter that there are clear minds and eyes on site, and then educated people who are speaking specifically on the issue and saying, this situation is under control. This is well maintained. This is a company that is familiar with this type of operation. They have support from overseas investors and also people who are familiar. This is contained and controlled. Meanwhile, CFIA, which in my opinion is the hammer of Health Canada under the direction of WHO. So that's the way I see it.
Dale?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the WHO is behind a lot of this stuff, and they really need to get dealt with, because they're involved in biological weapons research, and they should not be. Let's just say, I mean, we know what they did during COVID. You know that they keep talking about the next pandemics. They had their hands in monkeypox and all of these things. And we know that Bill Gates was funding the WHO. He was funding the vaccines, and he also had his hands in making sure that it distributed. So he was like dead to rights on all sides. Anything that comes out of the WHO is corrupt, and no Canadian institution should have their hands in it whatsoever. That's like a national security issue.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with the level of brainwash of people, and I would have a question for you, Dale, because you're a podcaster. We talk about alternative media and we talk about mainstream media. A lot of people still watch mainstream media, so they cannot have critical thinking. What's your opinion about maybe the environment you're in toward what you just mentioned? The WHO is financed by Bill Gates. They are promoting mRNA injection. It's not even a vaccine. So how does people react with your audience? Are they aware of what is happening? Do you have a lot of interaction with your audience?
Yeah, a lot of my audience is aware. They're basically, they're well informed, right? So what we want to do is just make sure that everybody knows what's going on and keep them up to date. But what's happening here is that we're not looking at what Canada's involvement was from the beginning, right? And so we need to look at that, because Canada has had a dirty history in doing this for a very long time. You look at what they were doing in Winnipeg from the National Microbiology Lab. They sent the one of most concern is the Bangladesh strain of the Nipah virus. They sent that over to Wuhan. Peter Daszak and the Chinese doctor that was working with him are both well experienced with the Nipah virus. They ended up finding at the end of 2019, they found Nipah virus in the spike proteins that were sequenced at Wuhan. That is a level 4 pathogen. I actually did some research. I'll be putting this out on the National Institute of Health. They have a whole team of engineers that work with them, right, under one of their divisions. And they were doing research with ASHRAE. And actually, the stuff that I put out, they were coming up with the same thing with a bunch of engineers, but they never did anything about it. And this was prior to COVID. They were doing this from about 2003 to 2019. And I have probably at least 30 different documents. So when they sent over, they were funding this at the NIH and the NIAID with Fauci. They were well aware that what they were doing was going to cause a leak. They knew it. And then as soon as they brought the Bangladesh strain over there, it was over. That was no containment for it. They created the leak. Canada was instrumental in doing this. And when I looked at their protocols for biosafety from the level 4 lab in Winnipeg, they did not follow their own biosafety protocols at all. And they're saying that this is a policy issue. No, it is not a policy issue. It was deliberate intent, tried to act like it was incompetence. So when you look at what is being done, Canada is dead to rights and 100% responsible for that COVID and the vaccines, or the gene therapy that they're giving to people, because if that never happened, we wouldn't be here. And so when they're coming over there, all I hear is just wiping that out, because they're saying that the ostrich eggs also has the ability to help immunize against disease.
That was one of the take. If I remember, it was 2020 or late 2020. They were talking about H5N1, and they were saying exactly what you're saying, Dale. The possibility that the ostrich could have developed natural immunity through avian flu. And after that, it disappeared completely from the mainstream media narrative. This is not new. And even SARS-CoV-1, 2003,
Yes.
they were already in this in 2003.
My mind is on SARS.
It is not new, but it takes time to reach people. So you say that it is possible, because what we try with many podcaster or people, I think about the National Citizen Inquiry, or everybody has good intention to try to understand what really happened. But it seems that the government is pushing its narrative and will not stop. It's only citizens that can stop. can stop
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yes. Like I mean, these guys were very guilty. And then from 2003 in SARS, there's a paper that was put out in 2014 by last name was Fermansky, and this was lesson learned. They knew from SARS, COVID-1, that lab leaks were an issue around China. They knew this. And this was common knowledge. Everything that I've looked at from the NIH and from all of these different places, they all knew that there was problems. And they actually had somebody that was the NIH or the NIAD. They were both over there trying to help China get up to speed because they knew that their level 4 lab that was newly opened was not up to par. They knew that they had containment issues to begin with. They should have never been working there. But the reason why they did that was China was involved in biological weapons research, and almost every person that was there had ties to the People's Liberation Army. So why are you doing that? First of all, the Chinese scientists in Winnipeg, they had ties to the People's Liberation Army. And you go and look at papers, and they were doing papers and research together. And Dr. Chu, that was there in Winnipeg, was also working on vaccines, which is not very well talked about. But that was inside of the documents that were sent over to the parliamentary inquiry with respect to this. And I don't know why they didn't issue arrest warrants, why they shielded Trudeau, or any of these things, because these are crimes. And these are serious crimes that were covered up. And this is treason. There's no other word for it, because when you create a biological weapon, you create a method of that effective spread, and you release that biological weapon. I don't know what levying war is if you're releasing weapons to kill your own citizenry, right? He should have been arrested and put in jail, not no inquiry. This is nonsense.
You mentioned the lab leak issue where Winnipeg is concerned. That it certainly appears intentional because it's a complete failure of the system. And I would think that when you do your analysis after the fact, you go, hey, wait a minute, lab leaks are inevitable. There's no way we can prevent them. What if we include them in the project? Right? So that even their failures become tools in the development of the next project.
Well, the thing is with the whole issue with the lab leaks is that they have to use these things like engineering controls is the number one reason why they're not dead, right? And so they have to use these things on a regular basis. They understand this. This was not done. It was overlooked. And when the way they did the engineering controls, what it demonstrates is this is not random happenstance. This is not a breakdown, because with engineering, you have to over-design. You have first consideration human life. If you're dealing with human life, you over-design. You put in redundancy into the system, so if something breaks down, you don't kill people, right? When you're sitting down, you have this systematic failure, systematic exclusion of engineering controls. I looked into Europe, I looked in Canada, United States, the UK, France, everywhere. They absolutely left out engineering controls. That tells me one thing, that they had a definite intent to spread biological weapons, because that is 80%, 80-90% of your infection mitigation is through proper HVAC infection controls and other engineering controls. And so they're lying. There's no other word to say that this was deliberate intent, and they're criminals. That's it.
Well, I agree with you, and I can refer to Ukraine, because it was the same thing in Ukraine when the Russian started to discover the laboratory in Ukraine with avian flu. That was they were trying to match it with the DNA of Slavic people. What you're saying, it's very serious, because when we are alive, if we use the word traitor, or we use the word, we have to understand the concept behind. Many people are not aware that in Canada, like you said, you have some people who practically deliberately created a pathogen to kill people. This is a criminal. First of all, it's a criminal act, but I would use the word traitor. I will let Tim go with Chris.
Go ahead, Tim.
So we have you back, Chris. You're on mute. There we go.
Yeah,
so
I didn't want to interrupt.
We will unleash you again.
How's my quality now?
Much improved.
Oh, great. All right. Well, it looks like I'm doing this from the truck, which was the last thing I wanted to do, but here we are.
That's
All right.
that's what
So,
Dale was talking about,
third-
contingency
yeah.
plan.
Yeah. So third time's a charm. Who are
That's
you?
right.
Where are you? And why are you there?
All right. Well, my name's Chris, and I'm the candidate for the People's Party of Canada in the West Kamloops riding. That includes Clearwater, where I live. And I'm in Edgewood, BC at the moment at the Save the Ostriches festival, I would call it, based on the atmosphere here. There's some drumming going on outside, and the parking lot is practically full at this point. So if too many more people come today, they're going to have to get creative with parking spots.
And what have you seen that has been reported online? For example, the black fence, the smoldering hay bales, reports of intentionally starving the ostriches. What are you of these reports on social media? What can you confirm on the ground?
Yeah, well, the black fences are there. Although this morning when I was with the ostriches at the road, there's no black fence on that particular part. I think it's more to contain whatever they're going to do with the hay bales, which, due to acts of nature, God, whatever it is, the hay bales have been self-immolating. And that's probably putting a damper on the CFIA's plans for the ostriches, which is great. As a lady here said to me last night, this place is full of miracles. So that sums up the vibe of the individuals in attendance. There's a really positive attitude. They feel that things continue to go their way, even if it's a drip and not a stream. And they're very hopeful. Yeah,
I noticed there's.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
as for your other question about deliberately starving the animals, it did seem that there was a delay in feeding when I was with the birds and people who are, there's kind of two cohorts of people. There's the people who are always at the fence, which is behind me, and then there's the people who are kind of everywhere else. The people who are at the fence, they were saying, yeah, they hadn't fed the birds, and that's when I arrived at 10:30, which seems a bit odd for someone who grew up in a poultry environment that you would wait till after 10:30 to feed the birds. But I'm not an ostrich expert, so yeah, I can't substantiate 100%.
So, Chris, we're going to give you over to Dale for a while.
Sure. Hi, Dale.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, just wanted to ask you a question. Is the RCMP still around? Do you see them visibly, or do they pull back?
No, they're still there. When I was leaving for attempt number 1 of this stream, there was a bunch of cops right in the roadway. And it was weird because they were wearing those like waterproof hats like you'd see with like Vietnam commandos. And I'm like, that seems excessive. There's probably a police officer for every 2 to 3 people in attendance, which also seems like overkill.
Yeah, because the name of the group team they had was called Kurg. They changed the name after the incident with the native protesters. But what they do, they have that same team there on the ground. That's why they have those hats on. They're looking at you guys as terrorists. And what they're actually doing is they're creating a situation, and they're using the anti-terrorism laws, because I looked through this after watching what they did over there and saw how this was structured so that they could come in and just basically come in by force and put people down if necessary. And this is what they are really waiting to do, and they're watching everything that's going on. So I would tell people to make sure that you are very relaxed, calm, keep everything very public, because what they did with the native protesters and the environmental issues, they're going to look at what is going on here as terrorism, because they won't want to spread something that they deem as a biological contagion, even though they might have been the source of it. But I mean, it's good that they got the injunction. So how are people feeling as opposed to having the Supreme Court decision that kind of gave them a little bit of a breathing room?
Yeah, well, I wasn't here when the stay was granted, although I was watching a lot of live streams, and the spirit of exuberance was definitely throughout those videos. Now it's kind of a holding pattern. Dre Humphrey from Rebel News has gone home for the weekend. I think she's out of Vancouver. I know she had a 9-hour drive, so I'm not able to connect with her while I'm here, but that's all right. You kind of have to pass the baton, I suppose. But people are very hopeful. They, you know, they're kind of like, RCMP, why are you here? Like, this doesn't concern you. I mean, it's a festival atmosphere, right? It's very, Woodstocky, if you will. There's going to be live music this afternoon at some point, well into the evening. So, I mean, these are the last people that I would think that the government needs to fear in terms of anything. But, and hopefully I'm not proven wrong.
Well, they don't have to fear the people for doing anything wrong. What they're fearing is that people would get hope should they be victorious, right? Because they don't want people to fall. They want compliance, right? Rather than they don't want anybody to stand up against what they're doing, right? So, sorry, so how many people are there right now? Because I know there's a lot of people that went over there.
I'm really bad at gauging the size of a crowd, but I'd probably say there's, maybe 300 people here.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. It might be closer to 2, but somewhere in that ballpark. It's hard to tell because there's some people who are in their campers or in their tents and whatnot. But
Can I let me just jump in with a question from the audience. Robbie Lighthouse asks, is the RCMP filming everyone that you can tell?
yeah, not that I can tell so much. They were having conversations. I haven't had too many interactions with the RCMP. The people here are doing more filming than the police, but the police could be filming in a variety of different ways that are obfuscated or that I'm just oblivious to.
I would have a question for you, Chris. On spot, are people aware that it is a national crisis? Because even if we think about the ostriches, those are living animal, but behind that you have something that is more political. Are they aware of that? Because everybody was watching the situation this week. So when you had contact with people, are they aware that a lot of Canadians are behind them and not only praying but advocating for their freedom to have to keep the farm and to save the ostriches? Are they aware of this with the conversation you had with them?
Yeah, I'd say everyone that I've spoken to is aware that this is a much bigger deal than just these ostriches, right? So, if the CFIA get their way and they manage to murder these ostriches, people see this as the tip of the iceberg. This is about property rights. This is about government overreach. This is about poorly crafted legislation, right? And vague interpretations of an act that was designed for one thing and now it's being used for something else. So I'd say everyone is on the same page that I've spoken to. I'm sure there's a couple people here who maybe are just like, oh, it's just about the ostriches, but I don't think that most of the crowd is that naive.
Are they aware that it seems it is very similar to the Freedom Convoy? The Freedom Convoy was spontaneous, and people and the government, like Dale mentioned, and they arrive with the police, the RCMP in Ottawa, so they act the same way. They always have the same modus operandi. So at least if they are aware of this, they understand that it's a bigger issue than just the ostriches.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who've, either participated in the Freedom Convoy or associated rallies who are here. And so people are drawing those comparisons.
Well, I think one of the issues that we're looking at here is that we're watching the government continually get away with things, There's no due process for the people. You can't come in and just take someone's property and destroy it without giving them due process. When you do that, that's tyranny. And we can't accept this. Like, people might say, oh, it's just a couple of birds. No, it isn't. Because if they come in and they destroy the ostriches, people just take it lying down. What's next? Your house? Your children? Your life? Like, I mean, if you give them an inch, they'll take a foot. And then you look at the fact that they're disarming people at this point in time, and you look at how tyrannical this government is. Every instance in human history when they disarm people, people got slaughtered. This is going to be no different, and they're going after things to keep you healthy and food sources and all of these things. This is bad. It needs to be stopped here.
Yeah, well, it's
And-
definitely a multi-pronged approach from the state, right? I mean, right now they're trying to get natural health products off the shelves. That's a current issue that's going on right now. That, you know, this issue, other issues, they're all competing for the same amount of airtime, right? So that's happening. They're trying to push home equity tax. So they want, you know, we already pay property tax. Now we have to have a home equity tax. And none of those taxes are going to the average person, right? If they were, I'd probably have a different opinion about them potentially. Yeah, that's the issue. And then, you know, you've got Peel Regional Police in Ontario specifically came out and said, look, if someone invades your house, you better just roll over and do what they ask, comply, because we're not going to help you. So it just shows that, you know, all of the little lies that we were told as kids, it's like, oh, you know, the police are great. They're there to help you. I mean, I've rarely seen it in my 38 years of existence that is their main modus operandi, right? That's not what they are. They are the henchmen of the state.
Looks like they took him out. The RCMP didn't like what he was saying.
So, yeah, if I can jump in, the ostrich cull is not the first of its kind in Canada, because the poultry industry has been suffering from culls on the orders of tens of thousands of birds on every farm. Like every time there's a quote unquote avian outbreak, CFIA steps in and will cull an entire population of birds. And the poultry board, cartel, whatever, right? They support this activity because it gives them even more supply management. So even those who are supposed to support the poultry producer industry, of which the Ostrich Farm is falls under that from its production days, in that the people have become familiar and have simply accepted that this is the cost of doing business. So then that percentage of the population that is familiar with poultry culls for avian have already been indoctrinated to accept this ostrich cull, this attempted ostrich cull, and they think, well, this is all the farmers down in the valley or down in Ontario or here in BC, they all have to accept these conditions, and they're doing fine. Their populations are fine. They're complying. They're not getting, except they're being controlled by their own, right, by their own poultry boards, etc. So then this group of the Canadian population looks at the ostrich situation and says, well, why are you guys making such a big fuss? It's just 400 birds. But as Dale very correctly identified, this goes into something that is at least 20 years old. Probably even goes back farther than SARS, could even go back to the Vietnam flu, right? In 68 or 69, I think it was. There was a significant SARS-like, right, flu that ran through, but everybody ignored it because Vietnam was eating up all the news. That type of research has been ongoing since before the Second World War. And I think, I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say this, but we're already there, right? Winnipeg, Vancouver, right, Toronto represent perfect places to build and test very dangerous stuff right under our own noses because we are fat and complacent. right? If this were to come to light in Texas, right, there would be an uproar, but not in Canada.
I just wanted to kind of add something quickly to that. Sam Cooper was talking about the amount of money that was laundered in Canada from organized crime that they know of. $1 trillion over the last 10 years that they know of is being laundered in Canada by cartels that are controlled by China. And they have a lot of influence in our government. And CSIS came out and straight up said this in Parliament and said, listen, every level of government, and going back all the way to Mulroney and before him, was controlled, influenced by China. And now you have cartels running. And why do you think the real estate market is gone through the roof? Because of the laundering of money. So when you take this into consideration, people have to understand what is actually happening.
I hate to jump in because you both had amazing comments, but I want to go to Chris because he appears to be in the parking lot. Chris, one audience question, and then we'll go to you. I heard that the RCMP were taking notes of license plates as people drove in. Is that true?
Look, I think that's probably standard operating procedure for the RCMP, right? I mean, that's what they're going to do. They've definitely given my a look up and down my truck as I drive in and out. So a longer look than probably a regular person would give any individual vehicle. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I can't substantiate that, obviously.
All right. And before we go back to the fascinating conversations between Tim and Dale, I feel so stupid for simplifying this, but where are you right now? And I see a lot of trucks. Are you in the parking lot?
Yeah, I'm in the parking lot. So when I came back, since we've had multiple technical issues, I just pulled into the parking lot and I was in my truck. There was some good Indigenous drumming going on outside, so I didn't step out of my truck right away for the previous segment. But then my truck got too hot and my phone overheated. So I was like, well, I better step outside. So, we're really putting the improv in this show, which is fantastic.
Are you, Chris, are you going to take a stand, or are you going to make a statement there? Because don't forget that you're a political person for the People's Party.
I am. I've been introducing myself as a candidate. Obviously, I'm wearing the brand colors here. If someone wants me to make a statement, I will. I'm not going to go out of my way to force that upon the people here. So we'll see what happens as things get a little bit more formal into the afternoon. Tamara Litch is going to be here this afternoon. I'm not sure exactly when she's showing up, and then she's going to be playing some music as well later today. So if there is an opportunity for that, I will. But I'm not here to impose myself and to try to take control. So I definitely don't want anybody to think that that's my angle.
Chris, could I step in for a moment and ask you to do a slow pan so we can see what's behind you? Maybe get a little better a picture of the audience or the people that are attending with you?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm not sure if I can switch my camera on this, so I'm just going to turn it.
You can just pretend you're doing one of those Disney camera spins.
Oh, yeah, cool. All right. Well, you can see behind me, right?
Yep.
So this is the parking lot, and there's quite a few vehicles here.
And this is a farm.
This is a farm. So as
and how far out of town are you?
10 minutes out of Edgewood, maybe 15.
And about how many people live in Edgewood? 10?
Look, it was bigger than you'd think. I don't know, probably maybe 1,000 people.
So what I'm getting at is, for being a remarkably rural location, the number of people in attendance is exceptionally high.
It's exceptionally high. And I've met people in attendance from the town of Edgewood as well. So there is local support here. Contrary to what the media, the mainstream media has put out, is that the local people are against it. I think that I'm staying at a trailer pad over in town in Edgewood, where the reception is not working apparently. And the people I'm staying with, they said, look, we totally support what's going on with the ostriches. you know, this the family have been around for, 30, 40 years, whatever. And there's going to be some people in town that have had better dealings with other people and all that kind of stuff. But nobody in town, it sounds like, is for the ostrich cull. So I want to make that totally clear.
When as the official People's Party of Canada representative on site, you also represent, to date, the only federal political entity other than, I think, the Unity Party to be on site to make a statement of a political or a policy nature. Are you preparing a statement for that if and when the opportunity arises?
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that one through. If they'd like me to make a statement, or if the party would like me to make an official statement, then yeah, I've got lots of content at this point.
Good. And how is your reception, people knowing that you are a candidate of the People's Party of Canada?
Well, it was really good. I'm glad that I came in last night and I had some generous donations from people in Clearwater who are People's Party supporters, but also just, in a nonpartisan way, supporting all of these issues that are at the fore from this. And so I had nearly a cord of wood in the back of my pickup truck. And then I had 36 pounds of grass-fed ground beef donated as well from 2 individual families. And I brought a bunch of organic garden tomatoes from my home garden just to throw in the mix. So they've made some chili today. I think some of that ground beef went into that. So, people here are being fed, and obviously it takes a lot of generous donations to feed a crowd and to keep a movement like this sustained. So anybody who wants to donate, they are very accepting. They've got 2 refrigerators with freezers in them and a separate freezer as well. So they are able to take perishable donations.
And we're going to give you back to Dale again.
Sure.
Yeah, so the Indigenous, they came in there and so forth. So what are they saying? What are their thoughts on what's happening here?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I haven't had a chance to talk to any of them. There was one guy with an Indigenous flag, and I was taken aside by another person's conversation before I could talk to him. I did hear that he called himself Chief something. So I do want to seek him out. It shouldn't be too hard because he's got a flag with him. I was told by someone that it was the band out of Chase that came in and said, this is, Indigenous land, and that the CFI and the RCMP need to leave. Now, I'm not sure if that was correlation or causation, right? It did come very close to the notice of the stay order. And so that came from the Supreme Court. That was probably in the works. So I'm not sure if the Chase band, if it was the Chase band, had any effect on making that stay order come out. But now that they've, planted their flag here with the Ostrich Farm, we'll see what comes of it.
Well, it certainly makes it more complicated for them to deal with, because now they have the additional protection. And the thing they're probably getting angry about is that the Indigenous are coming to help a bunch of white people, and they're like, oh, the people are starting to figure it out, right?
Well, it definitely makes everything more complicated. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it makes things more complicated. Obviously, other than the Peace region in northeastern British Columbia, there's not really much for treaties in this province. So when it comes to unceded land claims, and there's a lot of overlapping land claims as well, that it's a very complicated property rights issue.
I find the timing of this declaration, this cease and desist, on the weekend of a new national holiday for truth and reconciliation, so that here we are as citizens helping each other and bringing our own legal capacity to bear. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, the one thing that most people don't know is the way that the treaties were actually written and the way that they're done now, they're not the same. Because people have the misconception that they have the treaty rights based on their race. It's not. They were separate nations, and they are nation to nation treaties. And actually, the British, right before they formed Canada, they passed a law that opened the door because Canada actually doesn't have any, like the Indian Act should never exist. They don't have the right to change anything to do with treaties. But the way that they reinterpreted the law, the British kind of slightly modified it so that it made the shift away from nation based treaties to race treaties, which is actually not even a thing, to create the problems that they did. So we have to start going back to the way things actually were because they used the natives to take away all of our rights.
That's a good
And
remark. Last week we had an episode with Charles Fichtner, and we were talking about the treaty, and he was exactly pointing this fact, what we're mentioning, Dale, the difference between rights and privileges, and how they're using the native population, the indigenous population, to, I would say, to deprive most Canadian of their rights. Chris, it is a very exciting moment because it feels like I feel like I'm living the Freedom Convoy again. You know, the Freedom Convoy was fading a little bit. It was in 2022. Now this crisis, this national crisis, is there. I hope that Canadian will follow you and follow up with your presence. And thank you for being there.
Well, you're welcome. It's, I just had to get in the truck and drive here and rearrange my schedule, so it wasn't massive.
Well, I got another question here. I know that you came out, you're a candidate for the People Party of Canada, which this is something of national interest. Why do you think that none of the other parties came? Because you would sit down and think that these are their constituents. There's an issue going on that affects a lot of people. Why do you think they're not there? Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's a great question. There has been some support from other political figures. The MLA out of the Peace region, he has made a public statement that I watched the other day, so kudos to him. And the local MP, conservative, I believe it's Anderson, but it could be Robinson. Someone can correct me. There was someone in the chat there. Yeah, Scott Anderson. That's right. He did visit the farm in January and August. And then his assistant arrived this past weekend with a statement. So there have been some people, and I know Mel Arnold said something in the House of Commons, but I thought it could be a lot stronger. And I wish that Frank Caputo, who's the MP for my area, that he would say something as the shadow justice minister. He should see that this is a justice issue, right? Justice isn't just home invasions and bail, right? Justice is so much bigger than that.
I just wanted to confirm something. These other MLAs and MPs have come at their own behest. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Right. But you're there because national headquarters asked for a BC candidate to be on site to represent the party's interests, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So then when you speak, you're speaking for the party nationally.
Yeah, I suppose I am.
No pressure.
Yeah.
yeah, no worries. I mean, this is something that it should have gotten national attention. The RCMP right now, first of all, the way they're being used, it's not even constitutional. There is contracting a federal police to the provinces that, if you read the 1867 portion of the Constitution Act, that's not constitutional because the provinces are supposed to have complete control of the administration of justice. The only thing written into the 1867 portion of the Constitution Act that they can do is the appointment of judges and writing the criminal code. Other than that, nothing. So when they have the RCMP contracted that they do not control, because when you have a problem, you have to go to Ottawa, not BC, or whatever province they're in, This is where we've allowed this to happen so long, and we literally have the brown shirts running around because there is nobody to restrain the RCMP whatsoever should they do something. And then if you ask if they do some really bad thing, who's going to arrest them? Right?
Yeah, well, who will police the police, right? That's always the age-old question. I mean, BC used to have a provincial police force, and Alberta has now created a provincial police force. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, the RCMP, who were created as the Northwest Mounted Police to, snuff out Métis descent and other Indigenous descent in the prairies. I mean, they were sent into a territory, so they weren't even sent into a province. But it's always been, they were created to be the strong arm of the state in Canada. So why change now, I suppose?
I have a question for you, Chris. This is going to be a loaded question, so feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I heard reports that the RCMPs were going up and down next to the farm. I've been there, so it's just right off the farm, and they're blasting the sirens. They had the helicopter, the lights from above. It's kind of scary when you're on a farm and you use projection into your property from above. Are they actually doing that, and if so, to what extent?
They have been driving up and down the road. I mean, I saw the same videos a couple nights before I arrived on site that showed them driving up and down at nighttime, large floodlights, going faster than you would normally want to go near a flock of birds, especially because they can get startled, right? And you can create stampedes. So yeah, I haven't seen any drones today or heard helicopters, but that doesn't mean that hasn't happened in the past or while I haven't been here.
So the idea, what you were mentioning, Chris, I just have a quick question. You were mentioning the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So it's a creation of the West. When you compare this to the Ontario Provincial Police or the Quebec Provincial Police, and now that Alberta is creating a provincial police, they will be. Do you think that they will be support? In BC now, where you are on the farm, it's the RCMP, but there's no other police force there. It's only the RCMP. Am I wrong?
No, you're correct. In most parts of British Columbia, unless you're a city that wants to have its own police force, you have RCMP assigned to you. And so then part of your property taxes, etc., go to support the RCMP detachments in your area. So, cities are free to carve out to have their own city police, and the province is free to do the same. But, a number of years ago, before I was born, BC decided, well, we'll just let the feds handle policing outside of, Vancouver and Abbotsford and a few other places that have their own police forces.
I like this expression, the feds, because it refers to the United States. But also, if I talk about Quebec, the RCMP doesn't come in Quebec unless the government asks the RCMP to come, like when they did it with the COVID crisis. So you have this feeling. Do you have this feeling like it is like the Freedom Convoy? Maybe it will be the Freedom Movement 2.0 in BC.
Well, I think people have things to do and they have a short attention span. But what they need to realize is that the freedom movement, it started with a convoy, maybe it started earlier, but it can't end, right? Because until you've secured your rights, the freedom movement has to continue, and we have to keep moving along with the times. And we have another issue over here, we have another issue over there. There's always going to be something where the powers that be are trying to accumulate more power, and those who have little power are struggling to retain whatever power they have. And it's a age-old crisis of tens of thousands of years.
Guess if we have no more questions, maybe we should let Mr. Enns go. He's got a busy day. He's got to go talk to a whole bunch of people. Dale, any last questions?
No, I'm good. It is true what he was saying. We can't stop fighting for freedom until we all have it. and that's really the whole point. And we just got to keep going forward. And thank you for coming out and showing up, and thanks for the People's Party of Canada for actually taking an interest in something that affects Canadians as a party, as opposed to some of the people that did not do that. So hats off to you guys.
Yeah, as a citizen, Chris, I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks all of you. I appreciate your support. Thanks for having me on. I'd love to do this again in the future on any topic. So yeah.
Final words, Andre?
Well, no, I think Tim says it, and Dale said it also. The battle has just started. Until we are all free, we have to fight all the time. So thanks a lot, Chris.
You're very welcome. Talk to you all soon.
Take care. Thank you, everyone, and everyone have a good day. Bye.